Ladies and gentlemen, there is power in silence. There is dignity in discretion. And there is freedom in keeping something sacred, even from those we call friends. Too often we are tempted to spill the story of our lives to anyone who will listen. We tell people about our struggles, our dreams, our pains, our victories. And we do so with a certain vulnerability that is noble, yes, but sometimes it is unwise. I am here to remind you today, not everyone who smiles with you is rooting for your happiness. Not every ear is meant to hear the whispers of your heart. There is a kind of strength that is born not in shouting, not in displaying, not in demanding attention, but in quietly holding your life close to your chest. There is a dignity in discretion, a grace in silence, and a profound power in keeping certain things sacred. When we understand that we do not owe the world a full accounting of our hearts, our dreams, or our struggles, we begin to stand taller not because we are louder, but because we are deeper. Every human being has a fire within, a light that seeks to burn bright, and yet too often we allow the world to dictate how much of that light we reveal. We scatter pieces of ourselves to anyone who will listen, thinking perhaps that in sharing we are being brave, or that vulnerability demands exposure. But the truth, my friends, is that real courage is found in the calm protection of one's inner life. To keep your life private is not to be secretive in the sense of shame. It is to be protective of the sacred. It is to understand that your journey belongs first to you and only to you. There are storms in our lives, yes. Winds that threaten to shake us to our very roots. And yet, when we keep the details of our struggles to ourselves, we give those storms less power over our spirit. The world cannot undo what it does not fully know. It cannot diminish what it cannot grasp. And in that simple truth lies a quiet, unyielding strength. When you keep certain things private, you allow yourself the space to grow without judgment, without interference, without the constant barrage of opinions that would seek to shape your path in ways that may not align with your truth. There is a freedom in this privacy, a liberation that comes from being unbound by the expectations of others. Each moment that you choose not to explain, not to justify, not to lay bare the intricacies of your heart, is a moment that you reclaim for yourself. It is a reclaiming of sovereignty over your emotions, your choices, and your destiny. Privacy in this sense is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that your life is yours to steward, yours to nurture, and yours to protect. It is to say with soft but unshakable conviction that you will not allow every passerby, every acquaintance, every casual observer to measure the worth of your journey. You guard your heart because it is the very vessel of your power. You guard your story because it is the very script of your legacy. And in guarding these things you cultivate an inner sanctuary where clarity, wisdom, and resilience may flourish unimpeded. Consider the life of those who have moved with quiet strength, those who have achieved greatness not by broadcasting every step, but by walking their path deliberately with intention and with discretion. These are the people whose presence commands respect, whose actions inspire admiration, and whose silence speaks volumes. They are not diminished by what they choose not to share, rather they are strengthened. The world listens differently to those who are not desperate for attention, who do not seek validation in the eyes of everyone around them. There is a magnetic force in self-possession, a kind of authority that cannot be taught, only earned through careful guardianship of one's inner life. When we speak of power and privacy, we are also speaking of protection. We live in a world where words are cheap and opinions are often sharp and unkind. Every time we expose our vulnerabilities, we risk allowing someone else to weaponize them against us, to turn our openness into a source of judgment, manipulation, or betrayal. By keeping the most delicate parts of ourselves private, we shield our spirit from unnecessary harm. This is not fear, this is wisdom. This is understanding that true intimacy, true trust, is reserved for those who have earned the right to hold space for our hearts. And let us not forget the creative power that resides in privacy. When we nurture our thoughts, our dreams, and our plans in silence, they have the room to grow without interference. Like a seed buried in rich soil, hidden from prying eyes, they develop roots strong enough to withstand storms. When they finally emerge, they emerge fully formed, resilient, and magnificent. To reveal them too early before they are ready is to risk exposing them to the harsh winds of doubt and criticism. But when we honor the sanctity of our inner life, when we respect the process of our own becoming, the fruits of our labor become unassailable, remarkable, and deeply ours. So, my friends, understand that your life is not a spectacle for others to dissect. Your heart is not a commodity to be traded for approval. Your struggles, your triumphs, your dreams, these are precious, delicate, and profoundly yours. To keep them private is not a denial of connection. It is a celebration of self-possession, a declaration that you are the curator of your own soul. There is a sacredness in this choice, a power that flows quietly but inexorably, shaping the way you move through the world, the way you love, the way you achieve, and the way you endure. In the end, the power in privacy is simple yet profound. It is the strength to protect what is most sacred, the wisdom to choose when and to whom to reveal your truth, and the courage to walk your path without the constant need for validation. It is the recognition that your life, in all its beauty, complexity, and mystery, belongs first to you. Guard it well, cherish it fiercely. And in that guarded space you will discover a depth of power, grace, and resilience that no one can take from you. There is a wisdom in choosing carefully to whom we reveal the depths of our hearts, a quiet art in understanding that not every ear is meant to hear the intimate whispers of our souls. Life has taught us that while some people will rejoice with us in our victories, others will only measure our success against their own insecurities. And so there is a profound need to be selective in whom we confide. The world is filled with observers, critics, and onlookers who may smile in friendship but carry hidden intentions. And it is not a crime, it is not selfish, it is not even unkind to protect yourself from unnecessary exposure. For every story you share is a piece of your spirit, and some pieces are meant to remain sacred until the hands that hold them are proven to be gentle. Selective sharing is not born of suspicion alone, it is born of discernment, maturity, and respect for oneself. There is a certain courage in withholding a part of your life from the curious, in resisting the urge to explain every tear, every triumph, every failure. It is the courage to recognize that not all hearts are safe places, not all minds are nurturing spaces, and not all voices are meant to influence the trajectory of your life. To reveal too much too soon is to open a door that cannot always be closed. Words once spoken take on lives of their own, they wander, they twist, they are interpreted in ways that may stray far from your intention. And so we learn, sometimes painfully, sometimes with clarity, that the timing and the audience of our revelations matter more than the revelations themselves. When we are selective in sharing, we honor our own journey. We honor the sacred work that goes on behind the curtain, the hours spent wrestling with doubt, the moments of solitude when our hearts gather strength. There is a power in keeping certain things to ourselves, in cultivating a private garden where our dreams and fears can flourish without being trampled by careless words. The world may demand explanations, the world may question our choices, but the quiet truth is this: we are accountable first to ourselves and to no one else. In this sacred accountability lies a profound freedom. When your story is yours alone, unshared with those who may misunderstand, you are free to grow, to stumble, to rise again, and to find your own rhythm without interference. Selective sharing is also an act of love for others. It is the understanding that when we impose the weight of our lives onto others too heavily, we risk burdening them with things they are neither prepared nor willing to carry. Not everyone has the capacity to support us. Not everyone has the patience or the empathy to hear the depths of our struggles. By choosing carefully, by sharing with those who have proven themselves trustworthy, we create relationships that are grounded in respect, in mutual understanding, and in true connection. Our lives, our challenges, our dreams, our gifts, they are not meant to be thrown carelessly into the wind. They deserve reverence and they deserve careful stewardship. To practice selective sharing is to practice self-respect. It is to honor your emotional and spiritual boundaries. It is to understand that intimacy is not measured by how many people know your story, but by how well your story is held, understood, and cherished by those who do know it. Those who are worthy of your trust will prove themselves in time, not through the casual convenience of circumstance. And when you finally choose to open your heart, you do so with intention, clarity, and confidence, knowing that the space in which your truth resides is safe, nurturing, and sacred. There is also strategic wisdom in selective sharing. Life is a battlefield of ambitions, desires, and dreams, and not every revelation of our plans serves our purpose. Some ambitions are best nurtured quietly, allowed to grow, allowed to take root and strengthen before they are unveiled to the world. To tell someone too early of your vision, your dream, your plan, is to risk having it diluted by doubt, sabotaged by envy, or misunderstood by those who cannot yet see your potential. Those who are ready to support, uplift, and encourage will be patient. Those who are not may attempt to dim your light, to temper your progress, or to redirect your path. Selective sharing is therefore not only protection of the heart, it is preservation of possibility. And let us not forget the intimacy of listening, of holding space for others without immediately reciprocating our own vulnerabilities. True relationships are not transactions in which we expose ourselves in exchange for comfort or sympathy. They are sacred exchanges where hearts meet, where empathy is offered, where trust is cultivated over time. By practicing selective sharing, we give ourselves the gift of deep, intentional relationships built not on the superficial knowledge of every moment, but on profound understanding, mutual respect, and unwavering support. To be selective in sharing is to embrace patience. It is to recognize that there is a rhythm to trust, a timing to intimacy, and a season in which hearts reveal their secrets. The world may rush us, peers may press us, and circumstances may demand explanations, but the wise know that the most valuable things cannot be rushed. Like a fine wine, a well-guarded heart matures beautifully over time. And when we finally decide to share, we do so not out of desperation, but from a place of strength, clarity, and discernment. Remember this: the world is full of ears, but very few are worthy of hearing. Our lives are full of stories, but very few should be told indiscriminately. When we are selective in our sharing, we protect our spirit, preserve our dreams, and honor our inner wisdom. We learn that true power does not come from public approval or constant explanation, but from the quiet assurance that we are living our truth with integrity, intention, and courage. So walk gently with your words. Speak carefully with your heart. Choose wisely the confidants of your soul. Share only with those whose hearts are proven to be safe, whose spirits are aligned with yours, and whose intentions are pure. In this selectivity there is profound freedom. In this selectivity there is deep protection, and in this selectivity there is an enduring strength that no one can take from you, no matter how loudly they demand to know your story. There is a wisdom, a quiet and undeniable truth, that the world listens far more attentively to what we do than to what we say. Words are fleeting. They are clouds that drift across the sky, sometimes heavy with meaning, sometimes light and insubstantial. But actions are the rivers that carve valleys, the winds that shape mountains, the footprints that remain long after the speaker has gone. Too often we believe that to be heard, to be respected, to be valued, we must explain ourselves, justify our choices, and lay bare the intricacies of our lives. Yet in doing so we give away something precious, the silent authority that comes from living a life of integrity, consistency, and authenticity. When you let your actions speak, you are declaring to the world that your life is not a matter for debate, your worth is not a topic for discussion, and your journey is not a puzzle to be solved by others. Each step you take, each choice you make, each gesture of kindness, courage, or determination becomes a testament to your character. The world may doubt, it may question, it may challenge, but actions cannot be denied. They do not lie, they do not waver, and they do not require the approval of anyone to hold their power. Consider for a moment the truth in a simple act of perseverance. When you rise after failure, when you move forward despite the weight of disappointment, when you keep walking while the world watches or ignores, you are speaking volumes. You are telling a story that no explanation could fully capture. People may not understand the depths of your struggle, they may not know the nights spent in silent prayer or reflection, but they cannot fail to see the results of your determination. Actions have a language all their own, a vocabulary that transcends words and a clarity that cuts through doubt and speculation. When we rely too heavily on words to communicate our intentions, our dreams, or our pain, we risk dilution. Words are interpreted, misinterpreted, twisted, and sometimes even forgotten. But when we embody our values, when we live our principles, when we move through the world in alignment with our deepest truths, the impact is undeniable. People may not hear every syllable, but they will witness every step. They may not know the intricacies of our plans, but they will recognize the results. And in those results lies a silent authority, an undeniable proof of our resilience, our wisdom, and our purpose. Letting action speak is also an act of humility. It is the recognition that we do not need constant validation from others to justify our existence. We do not need to shout our accomplishments from the rooftops to prove our worth. There is a quiet satisfaction in knowing that our deeds carry the weight of our character, that our efforts leave footprints in the hearts and minds of those who truly observe. To act with intention, with integrity, and with purpose is to live in a manner that is self-evident, self-sustaining, and self-affirming. No audience is required, no applause is necessary. The life well lived speaks for itself. Actions also carry a power that words cannot. Words can be empty promises, fleeting declarations, or hollow reassurances. But actions are tangible, they are proof. They are evidence that we do not merely dream, we do not merely hope, we do not merely speak, we manifest, we create, we move. In the quiet consistency of action, in the deliberate pursuit of growth and excellence, we craft a narrative that is far more compelling than any explanation could ever be. People may question our motives, doubt our intentions, or misunderstand our choices, but the integrity of our actions will always stand as a testament to our truth. Consider the life of those who have achieved greatness, those whose names echo in history, those whose influence has shaped generations. Rarely do they owe their impact to words alone. They did not explain every struggle, nor did they announce every victory. They worked. They persisted. They lived in such a way that their results could not be ignored. They let their lives, their actions, and their achievements speak for them. And in doing so, they commanded respect, inspired others, and left a legacy that words alone could never convey. Letting actions speak is also a form of self-protection. By relying less on explanation, less on persuasion, and less on verbal validation, we shield ourselves from the whims of opinion, the judgments of those who do not understand, and the envy of those who wish to see us fail. When our deeds demonstrate our worth, when our character is evident through the consistency of our choices, we create a fortress that words cannot easily penetrate. We become unshakable, grounded in truth, and unwavering in purpose. And let us not forget the beauty in leading by example. When we allow our actions to communicate our values, we inspire without force, teach without lectures, and influence without coercion. People observe the way we navigate challenges, the way we treat others, the way we maintain integrity in the face of difficulty. They learn not because we have told them what to do, but because they see the standard we live by. This is the subtle, enduring power of letting action speak. It transcends argument, it silences doubt, and it leaves a legacy far greater than any speech ever could. So, my friends, resist the urge to explain. Resist the need to justify every step. Trust that the work you do, the choices you make, and the life you live will speak with authority, clarity, and truth. Let your integrity be your voice. Let your perseverance be your argument. Let your results be your proof. And know that in the quiet demonstration of your values, in the unwavering pursuit of your purpose, you are saying more than words ever could, and the world will hear you, not in what you say, but in what you do. In the end, words fade. Opinions change, promises are broken, but actions endure. They echo in the hearts of those who witness them, they inspire those who follow, and they leave a legacy that transcends time. Let your life be the message, Your deeds be the testament, and your journey be the proof that you need no explanation. For the world will know you by what you do, not by what you say. There is a subtle danger in allowing the opinions of others to dictate the rhythm of our lives, a quiet poison in letting judgment shape our choices, and a hidden burden in granting power to those who have no authority over our hearts. Life has a way of placing observers around us, people who measure our worth not by our courage, not by our integrity, but by the narrow lens of their own experiences, biases, and insecurities. And yet too often we permit these judgments to enter our minds, to weigh heavily upon our hearts, and to influence the very path we are meant to walk. Guarding oneself against judgment is not arrogance, it is not denial, it is an act of survival, of wisdom, and of deep self-respect. When we reveal the intimate details of our lives indiscriminately, we are opening ourselves to the scrutiny of those who do not share our vision, who do not understand our journey, and who may never have walked the path we tread. The judgments that follow can be swift, sharp, and unforgiving. Words meant to encourage sometimes are twisted into instruments of doubt. Advice offered with good intentions can become chains that bind, and even smiles and nods, seemingly benign, may hide envy, skepticism, or silent criticism. The world, my friends, is full of voices eager to assess, categorize, and define us, but their verdicts do not determine our worth. Guarding against judgment begins with a clear understanding of who we are. It begins with an unwavering knowledge of our own truth, our own purpose, and our own heart. When we are grounded in self-awareness, when we know the values we live by and the principles we will not compromise, the words of others lose their power to wound. Criticism, skepticism, and disapproval can pass by like leaves carried on the wind, unable to settle because we have built an inner foundation strong enough to withstand any storm. Those who seek to judge are often speaking from fear, misunderstanding, or limitation. They are projecting their own insecurities onto the canvas of our lives. And to allow them to influence us is to cede control of our own story. There is also a sacred liberation in understanding that judgment often says more about the person offering it than about the person receiving it. People judge because it is easier to measure another's life than to examine their own. They judge because envy distorts clarity, because fear of change breeds suspicion, because the unknown challenges the comfort of their own narrow worldview. To take their judgments personally is to accept a weight that is not yours to carry. To guard against judgment is to reclaim your power, to step into the quiet dignity of knowing that their opinion cannot define your reality. We guard against judgment not through silence alone, but through careful living, by choosing selectively what to share, by aligning our actions with our values, and by refusing to seek validation from those who do not matter. We create a life that is impenetrable to casual critique. Those who truly matter, those whose hearts are proven trustworthy, will not judge. They will support, guide, and encourage. And those who are unkind, dismissive, or envious, their words will lose their bite, for they are speaking to a life that does not belong to them. Guarding against judgment is also an act of courage. It takes bravery to live authentically in a world that demands conformity. It requires strength to pursue dreams that may be misunderstood, to take risks that others deem foolish, and to embrace our own path when it diverges from the expectations of family, friends, and society. Judgment often comes from a place of fear, fear that we are capable, fear that we will surpass, fear that we may redefine what is possible. To stand firm in the face of that fear, to continue forward despite the whispers and the stares, is to exercise a power that cannot be measured, a resilience that cannot be shaken, and a freedom that cannot be stolen. There is also a profound beauty in turning judgment into clarity. When someone questions your choices or doubts your intentions, it is an opportunity to observe, to reflect, and to reaffirm your own purpose. Judgment can serve as a mirror reflecting not weakness but strength, strength to discern, strength to prioritize, strength to remain steadfast in your own truth. When we learn to see judgment as a test of our own resolve rather than a measure of our worth, we transform criticism into fuel for growth, and skepticism into an invitation to refine our vision. It is essential to remember that judgment thrives on visibility. The more we feel compelled to explain, justify, or defend ourselves, the more we feed the appetite of those who wish to critique. When we live deliberately, quietly, and with integrity, we deny judgment its power. Our lives become proof, not explanation. The strength of our character, the consistency of our choices, and the quiet dignity with which we pursue our goals speak louder than words ever could. We cultivate an aura of self-possession, a presence that commands respect without demand, and a legacy that judgment cannot touch. Guarding against judgment also requires self-compassion. We are often our own harshest critics, our inner voices laden with expectations and doubt. To shield ourselves from external judgment, we must also learn to soften the inner chorus of criticism. We must speak to ourselves with encouragement, patience, and grace. When we build this inner sanctuary, external judgments lose their resonance, for we have already affirmed our worth from within. Finally, guarding against judgment is an act of freedom. It is the liberation that comes from refusing to live according to other standards, from refusing to allow the world to dictate the measure of our success, our happiness, or our purpose. It is the freedom to pursue dreams boldly, to love deeply, to stumble and rise again, all without the shackles of constant approval. In protecting ourselves from judgment, we reclaim our lives, we honor our journey, and we move through the world with courage, dignity, and unshakable confidence. So, my friends, guard your heart and your spirit. Choose carefully the voices that enter your life. Live deliberately, speak thoughtfully, and act with integrity. Know that judgment is often blind, often biased, and rarely wise. Do not let it shape your path or diminish your light. Stand firm in the knowledge of your own worth, the clarity of your own purpose, and the strength of your own convictions. In doing so, you walk not only with courage but with freedom, grace, and an unyielding dignity that no opinion can ever take away. There is a sacred power in owning your story, a profound liberation that comes when you claim the life you have lived, the experiences you have endured, and the choices you have made, without apology, without shame, and without the need for validation from anyone outside yourself. Every heart carries a history, every soul bears a journey, and every life is a tapestry of moments both luminous and dark. To deny your story, to shrink from it, or to allow others to rewrite it for you is to abandon your own voice, to cede authority over your truth, and to relinquish the very essence of your being. Owning your story is not an act of pride, it is an act of courage, dignity, and deep self-respect. When you claim your story, you embrace both the triumphs and the trials, the victories and the failures, the light and the shadow. You acknowledge that every scar, every hardship, every mistake is a testament to your endurance, a marker of your growth, and a lesson that shapes the strength of your character. To live authentically is to stand firmly in the fullness of who you are, without fear that others may misunderstand, question, or even reject you. There will always be those who do not comprehend your path, who will scoff at your choices, who will diminish your accomplishments, but their perception does not define your reality. Only you, through the deliberate ownership of your story, can determine its meaning, its purpose, and its legacy. Owning your story is also an act of freedom. When we stop seeking permission to be, when we stop explaining ourselves to those who cannot understand, when we cease measuring our worth against the judgment of others, we open the door to authenticity. We become free to pursue our passions, to speak our truth, to love without hesitation, and to walk boldly in the direction of our dreams. The life you have lived, no matter how imperfect, is uniquely yours, and to embrace it fully is to recognize that the narrative of your existence is a treasure beyond measure. Every decision, every heartbreak, every moment of joy contributes to the masterpiece that is your life, and it is yours alone to honor. There's a quiet courage in this ownership. To own your story is to resist the temptation to hide behind the masks of conformity or approval. It is to resist the subtle coercion of societal expectations, the pressures of cultural norms, and the whispers of doubt from those who cannot yet see your vision. To own your story is to say with unwavering clarity that you will no longer allow the world to dictate the value of your experiences. You are the author, the narrator, and the curator of your own journey. And in this ownership lies an unshakable power, a steadfast resolve, and a profound sense of self-worth that no external voice can diminish. Owning your story also allows you to transform pain into purpose. Every trial, every sorrow, every moment of struggle carries within it a seed of strength. When we claim our experiences, we recognize their potential to teach, to guide, and to inspire. The wounds we once sought to hide become badges of courage. The obstacles we once feared become stepping stones to greater wisdom. The challenges we once resisted become the foundation upon which we build resilience. By embracing the totality of our story, we turn what might have been shame into pride, what might have been regret into learning, and what might have been silence into a testament of enduring strength. There is also a profound connection that comes from owning your story. When you live fully in your truth, you create space for others to do the same. By sharing your journey selectively and intentionally, by modeling authenticity and courage, you inspire others to claim their own lives. You show them that it is possible to stand tall in the face of adversity, to embrace one's uniqueness, and to walk boldly in alignment with one's values. The act of owning your story becomes not only a declaration of self-respect but also a beacon of hope and empowerment for those who witness it. To own your story, however, requires honesty. It requires a willingness to face the parts of yourself that you might prefer to ignore, to confront the choices you regret, and to accept the truths that are sometimes uncomfortable. It is not enough to celebrate only the victories or to embrace only the moments of pride. True ownership demands that we look squarely at our fears, our failures, and our weaknesses, and acknowledge them as integral threads in the fabric of our lives. It is in this honest reckoning that we find freedom, for when we stop resisting, denying, or hiding, we reclaim the power that has always been ours. Owning your story also invites a sense of responsibility. It calls upon you to steward your life with intention, to make choices that honor your past while shaping a future aligned with your deepest values. It asks that you walk with integrity, speak with authenticity, and act with purpose, so that the narrative you create is one of empowerment, resilience, and grace. When you own your story, you are no longer a passive participant in life. You are an active creator, shaping your path with deliberate care, mindful presence, and unwavering commitment to your truth. And finally, owning your story is a celebration of self-worth. It is the recognition that your life, in all its complexity, in all its triumphs and tribulations, is valuable, meaningful, and worthy of honor. No one else can write it, no one else can define it, and no one else can diminish it. When you stand firmly in this truth, you radiate a confidence and authenticity that cannot be ignored. You inspire respect, cultivate influence, and leave a legacy that is uniquely, undeniably, and beautifully yours. So, my friends, embrace your story. Claim it with courage. Honor it with integrity. Protect it with wisdom. Let it shine in the fullness of its truth, unapologetically and unreservedly. Stand tall in the knowledge that your experiences, your choices, and your journey are sacred, valuable, and immeasurably powerful. When you own your story, you reclaim your voice, your power, and your life. And in that ownership, you find the freedom, strength, and dignity to live boldly, love deeply, and leave a legacy that will echo far beyond your years.